going to start tonight with a pasta salad. I make gluten-free pasta, and if you're new to it, I know some people are just trying to make the transition to gluten-free. This is the brand that I recommend, this Intinchiata. It's really good. You use bronze dyes, and this, it's an Italian process, and people that don't normally like gluten-free think this tastes kind of like the real deal. So that's what I use. I do recommend when you cook it that you put in a big enough pot so there's a lot of room for the pasta to move, and you get it boiling to a good boil before you put the pasta in. And then with gluten-free in particular, you have to stir and stir and stir so it doesn't stick. So that's what I did, and I've got this fusilli, or I don't know the other name for it, fusilli is what I call it. So I cook that, and to that I'm going to be adding a can of the cannellini beans that I've rinsed and drained. This is sort of a Waldorf-like salad. You could put apples in it. It's my thing. I just don't really feel like eating apples in the summer. I like to save them up for the fall when I really look forward to them. I know grapes aren't a particularly summery food, but you know, I don't associate these with fall like I do apples and pumpkin and squash and all that. So I've got 2 cups of red seedless grapes I'm putting in. Nice source of resveratrol. And then for some crunch, I've got some celery. This also, I like putting, you know, I don't really measure a lot of stuff. I kind of go by what it looks like. And I like the celery. It also kind of brings down the calorie density. So the celery is very low calorie. It makes the dish a little less. I've got that already. I've got green onion, about 1/2 cup. And some parsley, about 2 tablespoons. And I've got garlic powder. So that's all there is to that. And I'm going to make the dressing. It doesn't say on there, but the main part of the dressing is Chad Sarno from Ruby. He's an excellent, and he's from Wicked Healthy too. He's a really good plant-based chef. So even though I'm using a Vitamix, I still soak the cashews for this. So I have a cup of cashews that I soaked. And you can put 1/2 cup to about 3/4 cup of water. And because I had mine soaking for so long, I don't need as much water. So I'm using 1/2 cup. What's not on there, I'm sorry, but are 2 medjool dates that I have chopped up a little bit to add a little bit of sweetness. I've got a tablespoon of lemon juice, 1.5 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and a little bit of Dijon mustard. I'm going to make some noise. Here we go. Scrape down the sides. Also want to say when you're cooking gluten-free pasta, you're using it for the like a pasta salad, you want to be sure you're giving it a really good rinse until it cools off so it doesn't stick. Mine didn't stick at all. Usually these kinds of things get a little thicker the next day, so you might want to add, if you don't use all of it, you might want to add some water the next day to thin it back out. And this is something that I started making when my son first went vegan, but it's also turned out to be a good thing to take, like if we're going somewhere where we're supposed to bring a dish because of the beans and the pasta and all that, it works as our main. So it's a good thing to have. Just give it a toss. And then I'm putting a little bit more parsley on. Parsley. So it's creamy and crunchy and it's pretty yummy. Can you see? This doesn't last a real long time in our house. My son will be taking some to work and it's usually eats most of it. So I'm ready. Off to you, Jodi.
Michele, it's a pleasure to be with you all this evening. One of the things I wanted to talk about with you first is summer hydration. And the neat way to do that is to add some fresh summer fruits to your beverages and to your waters. You could use plain water, you can use sparkling water, but it's a really neat way to keep nice, cold, refreshing hydration waiting for you in the fridge. And it just gets better and better the longer that it sits in there. So I wanted to share with you some of my favorite combinations. Of course, cucumber and lemon and mint is a big favorite. That's kind of a traditional one. And you can just use, I'll be honest, when I do this for myself, I use the quart mason jars because I try to drink at least 3 quarts of water a day. But for kiddos and for family members, it might be easier to do the pint-sized jars. And I have some lemons and cucumbers, some mint, and you can just add some water to that. And just let that hang out in the fridge and get nice and nice cold. And it will just infuse all the way through the water and just make it delicious. And another favorite, of course, is cherry lime. And this is a fun one to do with sparkling water. It kind of gives you those favorite Sonic vibes, but a little bit healthier. And this is a fun one. I have some sparkling water we can do for that one. Of course, you could add mint or anything else fun that you might like in there as well. And the longer that sits, the more cherry and lime flavor will infuse. And one of my most favorites, probably my #1 favorite, is raspberry lemon and mint. So just plop those in. And the fun thing about these, the berries and the cucumbers and even the mint sprigs will last for more than 1 refill. So you can fill up, even a whole big pitcher in the fridge, and then you can just keep reusing that same fruit and the same slices of citrus and everything else, and it'll last for probably 4 or 5 days. It keeps really well. So that's a fun little summer hack. And if you have kiddos at home that are likely to reach for sodas or juices or things like that first, you can make a little DIY station up of all of these ingredients, all of these fresh fruits, and let them make their own custom water blend. And that way they'll have something fun to try and they'll be so excited to go pull it out of the fridge and choose their own healthy water. And of course you can use the lids that come with the mason jars, or you can use the reusable plastic kind. But if you have a bunch of family members at home, or you do like the kitty bar, I found like this neat little thing that you can just, I save things that happen to have different colors and they fit the mason jars perfectly. So a kiddo can have their favorite color, red, blue, green, whatever they like. And then they know which jars are theirs in the fridge. So that's a fun little summer hydration practice to get into place since we're going to be about in a heat wave in a minute. And then if you have any fun gatherings, one of the neatest things I ever saw when I went to a day spa, and they had this beautiful fresh and fruit infused water when you first walked in. And it had the entire rainbow of fruits in it. And I thought that was the neatest thing. So when I would have our plant-based meetups, I always had a different fruit infused water waiting for everybody to come in and join us. And so when you're making a rainbow water, of course, you want to try to get in as many colors as possible. So for this, we can add in, I've got a little bit of water here, but I'm not filling this up like for a gathering because, it's just me here, but you can get the idea. We're gonna do some watermelon, some cucumber, there's some red, some green. We're also gonna do some kiwi, and fun little healthy hack, the outer edge of the kiwi is totally edible, so you don't have to peel them. You can just plop them right in there. Some blueberries for our blue in our rainbow, some raspberries for a little more red, can't have too much red. Maybe some green grapes, purple grapes would be gorgeous too. Some yellow or some lemon for our yellow, some orange for our orange, and pineapple would also be a great choice for yellow, that would be delicious. Mango would be a fantastic choice for orange, that would just be delicious. And then if you wanted to jazz it up even a little bit more, you could put in some mint. And again, the longer that you can just set that in the fridge until it's time for your gathering. And it's a really fun, very welcoming and inviting beverage choice to have. And it's also very eco-friendly to have, not have everybody walking around with the individual cans and bottles that you would buy, to go ahead and have, reusable items to enjoy all of your delicious fruit infused waters, your aqua frescas. One last neat idea is to do a mocktail, and for if you're having a really special gift. Now this is not showing up quite on camera, the color that it is. This is a gorgeous, almost beet red color. This is hibiscus tea, and hibiscus tea is just hibiscus flowers that are steeped in hot water, and you can make a beautiful iced tea out of this as well. You can also just cold brew this in your refrigerator. And it would be the base of a lovely mocktail. You can put this in a beautiful pitcher with either sparkling water or regular, however you like. Sparkling water, you can almost make like a fun sangria kind of a thing if you wanted to. But you could do this beautiful, now see when I'm pouring, you can see how pretty it is. It's a very beautiful color. And you could add, some, just like you would a sangria, you can do lots of grapes and oranges, apples, pears, all of that, and then some cinnamon sticks, and let that hang out in the fridge. You would fill this up, of course, with some ice water when it's time to serve. But that would make a wonderful summer mocktail, and you can customize that flavor so it's your own signature beverage. So I hope that gives you some really fun ideas for summer hydration that are awesome for your body and great for the environment. And, we always are at VegMichigan, and we're always saying, eat the rainbow. Well, now we're telling you, you can drink the rainbow. So I hope you enjoy those. And back to you, Michele.
Thank you. Those look delicious. And with the forecast, that is the perfect thing to have. So I think a lot of people are going to want to make that. The next thing, and hibiscus is so good for you. I really like having that too. So I'm making some black bean burgers next. What I like to do when I'm mincing, if I'm doing something where I'm mincing garlic, and I'm using my food processor, I'll run my food processor and drop the garlic in, and let it do my mincing for me. I already grated the carrots. It's about 2 carrots. This, just after they're grated, comes out to almost just shy of a cup. I like this recipe because I've never seen a recipe using carrots for burgers, and I like the having something a little bit different, and it's got a lot of seasonings that I like. This 2 cans of black beans that I rinsed and drained really thoroughly. Try to get unsalted. Sometimes that you go to the store and something that's usually there just isn't, so you make do. And I actually put that in too soon. Okay, I've got half a cup of oats. Sometimes you just don't do things the way you wanted to, and it still works out. So don't worry about that. I've got a tablespoon of coconut aminos. That's what I use instead of soy sauce or tamari. Even though tamari is the gluten-free version, is so high in sodium, and the Bragg's amino acids are a lot higher in sodium than the coconut aminos. And if you are Trader Joe's shoppers, they do have it back in stock. So after a very long period without it. So I just put in cinnamon, cumin, coriander, chili powder, onion powder, cayenne. Cayenne adds some heat, but it's also a flavor enhancer, so I don't use as much salt, but I like the little bite of the fresh garlic and the cayenne. So I'm gonna just mix this. Now I meant to say, because it is so hot, this isn't something you wanna do. You won't wanna do this tomorrow, but if you have to heat up your kitchen, you wanna try to use your oven or whatever appliances that give off heat in the early morning or late in the evening. Otherwise, you're going to be a little bit more miserable. Tomorrow is supposed to get to be it's supposed to be 100. Sides. I love the smell of those seasonings. A bit more. These are a little bit fragile, so when you are turning them over, you're going to want to be careful. When you turn them over, you're going to put them in the oven, and then when you turn them over at about the 10 minute mark, just be careful, but they're pretty forgiving at that point. So if they break apart a little bit, they usually will go right back together, which I like. And then I like to use a Silpat. You know, Jodi was mentioning, we need to help our environment. So I like to use the reusable silicone lining. If not, I will use a non-bleached parchment paper. And this is just something I like to do. I like to use the rings so they come out the same size, but you can just mix it with your hands. Form the patties with your hands. I use a little bit smaller one because, like I said, we're gluten-free, and gluten-free breads and rolls and things usually seem to be a little bit smaller. So I like to make a smaller patty, and then I just press it down with the back of the spoon. And gently lift the ring out. And then my burgers are all the same size, which I like. They're going to cook the same. Might put whatever kind of toppings you want with this. I'm in a big red leaf lettuce phase right now. I just love that stuff, and it goes well on the burgers. A chipotle kind of sauce on top. So these go in about 375 for 10 to 12 minutes. And then, like I said, you're going to carefully turn them over, flip them, and then put them in for another 8 to 10. Now, I don't recommend putting these on a grill. If you're going to do that, you need a little, some kind of tray or something that will keep it from slipping through. You can start them in the oven at 300 for about 30 minutes and then just kind of heat them up and get some grill marks if you want to do it that way. Like I said, I do these and I get about 9 patties of this size. I'm going to show you. And we really like them, and sometimes I will crumble them up and put them into like a scramble. Can you see that? I'll just hold it up again. There you go. Like I get 9 out of that one. So I will just put them back in the oven to reheat them, or I can freeze them once they're baked, and they're very handy. I go through them a lot, and they're much less expensive than buying, veggie burgers that are already made. They're very simple. There are a lot of different templates you can use. You can switch out what kind of beans, what kind of vegetables. I did use the chia egg with like a tablespoon of chia seeds with 3 tablespoons of water. You could do it with a flax egg too, something to bind it. And they're just all sorts. There's so many different vegetable burgers you can use, but this is one of the ones we like a lot. So back to you, Jodi. I hope you enjoy this.
Looks absolutely delicious, Michele. I cannot wait to try your pasta salad too. I know I've told you that already, but I'm really excited to do that. So what I'd like to share with you next is a healthy favorite, a healthy twist on a summer favorite, and that is strawberry shortcake. So I was thinking about what would make it even more fun. And I thought, oh, what if the shortcake was, instead of just being a sweet biscuit, if it was a lemon poppy seed biscuit? So we're gonna make that for our base. And we're gonna do some lemon infused strawberries for our filling. And we have a few toppings that we'll talk about. And so what I wanna get started with, the first part is the filling, and that's the strawberries, because I want those to have a little bit of time to macerate. Now this would be an ideal thing for you to do ahead of time the morning that you're gonna serve. The longer they get to hang out in the fridge, the better. And one of the very first things you're gonna notice is that I'm leaving the little green leaves on my strawberries, that we don't have to trim those off, guys. They're super healthy. And so I'm gonna, and they're pretty too, so why would we take away pretty? So I'm gonna go ahead and slice my last little bit of my strawberry, leaving all the pretty green leaves. And there's a couple of reasons why I do that. One of them, yes, it's pretty, but I'm also adding in some iron, I'm adding in some calcium. And what's really interesting to me is that the greens have something called a caffeic acid, which actually helps aid in digestion. And because it alleviates inflammation. And the natural tannins in those same greens also aid in digestion. So leave it intact. You don't want the little stem, of course, but the leaves are perfectly great for you. And like I said, they have a little pop of green, so they're pretty. So to macerate my berries, now I personally find summer berries are sweet enough. I don't need to add sugar or any sweetener, but if you know that your family and loved ones are gonna want those a little bit sweeter, you can always add some date powder, some date sugar, coconut sugar, anything like that, and just let them hang out with that for a little while, and it'll break those juices down. I'm just gonna use a lemon infused balsamic vinegar. And that's going to add that combination of strawberry lemonade kind of flavor that I want for these to go with the lemon poppy seed shortcake. And it doesn't take much. I'm maybe going to add like a teaspoon or so. And I'm going to add some fresh zest of the lemon. And that's going to also bring in just lots of fun flavor, really refreshing. And you can start to smell almost immediately that combination together is absolutely delicious. And like I said, again, the longer this can hang out in the fridge, the better. It'll get nice and juicy for your filling. And so while that's hanging out, we'll get started with our dry ingredients. And what I have here is, now I'm gonna make a half a recipe compared to, because I've had already made half ahead of time for the magic of television. And so I have cut the recipe in half that you'll see in the PDF. So I have 1 cup of whole grain flour here. I'm using a whole wheat. You can certainly, if whole wheat doesn't work for you or your loved ones, you can definitely use like a 1-to-1 gluten-free blend. And I've also included in the PDF Kim Campbell from Plant Pure Nation just came up with a gluten-free shortcake herself, and her recipes are fantastic. They're so tried and true and perfect that I wanted to give you guys a couple of options because I know not every household can do the whole wheat. Oh, wait. I'm going to do one quick thing before I move to my dry ingredients. I want to turn my soy milk into a buttermilk to give us a more tender shortcake. So I'm going to go ahead and let that start getting some lemon action in this soy milk. I've got a 1/4 cup of soy milk, and I'm just going to add a tablespoon of lemon juice. You can, now anytime you're wanting to make a plant-based buttermilk, you can also use vinegar too, but since we're doing the lemon theme today, we're going with fresh lemon juice. And while I'm doing that, I will go ahead and actually add in my applesauce as well. I've got a 1/4 cup of applesauce. It's not going to hurt a thing to get all those ingredients together. Let those start hanging out. Okay, and now we will move on to our dry. To the flour, I'm going to sweeten the biscuit just slightly with some date powder. If you know that your family likes a little bit more sweet, then you can use more than a tablespoon. This recipe is very forgiving. So if you need to double that to 2 tablespoons, totally okay. I'm going to do a teaspoon of baking powder. That's going to give us some lift. When you're baking, you know, powder makes it pop, and so baking soda makes it spread. So we just need the powder for this recipe. And then I'm going to add in 1/2 teaspoon or so of some poppy seeds. I can even go up to a teaspoon, I think would be pretty. And that's it for the dry ingredients. This is as simple as it gets. And where did I hide? Oh, I hid my whisk from myself. Just give it a quick mix to blend it all. You always want to mix your dry ingredients before you put in your wet so they're nice and evenly distributed. And by using that whole grain, we're keeping all that fiber intact, which is awesome for being protected against heart disease and cancers and everything else. So the more whole your flour, no matter what kind you're using, the better. And then we'll just make a little well, and we're gonna add in, well, you know what I think I'll do too? I think I did that for my little other batch too, is I put in some zest right into there. So I've got a little extra. I'm gonna throw that in and really punch up that lemon flavor.
Love zest.
Okay, we're just gonna add in our buttermilk, our plant buttermilk, and our applesauce to our dry ingredients. I'm just gonna give this a quick mix. Now, if you've ever make biscuits at home, you know biscuits can be a little shaggy as you're first putting it together. And sometimes people can get tempted to add more liquid because they think, oh, it's not gonna come together. But just keep working it. And sometimes you have to add your hands into, and that's okay. Biscuits are a very tactile kind of a thing. And go ahead and add in this little bit extra. It's very humid here today, so it's able to absorb a little bit more. Every flour is going to act a little bit differently. But as soon as your dough comes together, you don't want to overmix. You can go ahead and set it out. There's a couple ways you can shape your shortcake. You can definitely just take a scoop or 2 spoons and make drop biscuits. That's kind of the traditional way. But when I was thinking lemon poppy seed, I thought like a scone shape would be really cute. So what I'm gonna do is just add a little bit more flour to my board, and I'm just gonna pat it out real quick and make a little, make it cute. It doesn't really take any more effort, and it's just be something a little bit more unusual to make it a little different. So I'm just gonna put some flour on my board so that it doesn't stick too much. And I'm just gonna turn my dough right out onto it. And of course, my hands are gonna get a little bit messy, but that's okay. They're clean. And I'm just gonna dust this a little bit on, and you're just gonna shape this into a very rustic little disc. It doesn't, this is the half, this is actually what the size I always make at home. So this would be enough to make 4 little shortcakes. The recipe in the PDF is enough for like a family gathering, so you can get 6 to 8 out of that. Or just make really big, yummy ones if your family likes bigger desserts. The fun thing about this is that it's so flexible. It's very easy to scale this to whatever size you need. The recipe will scale really well. And you can also customize whatever shape and size you want as well. So you can see this gives us, it's a very tender, delicate little scone. You can see it's just perfect. Nice and puffy, and we're going to place that. I'm using a silicone lined sheet pan. And of course you can use parchment. You do want to use something because we're doing this, you know, oil-free. So we want to make sure that it's not going to stick to anything. That little bit of flour on the bottom will help as well. And you get this perfectly cute little, I'm just cutting it into diet, you know, across and across. So like a 4-piece pizza. And you can see just kind of what I have there, nice poofy little stones. And these only take a few minutes to bake. So you can just put these in like a 400, my oven runs a little hot, so I do mine at 400. You can do it from 400 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes. Mine tend to take about 11 minutes right in there. But again, my oven runs a little bit hot. Depending on how yours runs, just start checking at 10. And if you need to go a little bit longer, then that's fine too. You just want it to be slightly golden, not too overdone, because with the whole grain flour, you don't want it to be dry, and it should come out just perfect. And while those are baking, we're going to make a quick whip topping. Now with a vegan shortcake, you have a lot of options now. You can do an apple fava whip, which is included in the PDF and Kim's recipe. You can do a cashew cream, like a vanilla scented cashew cream would be delicious, very decadent. But if you have nut allergies in your family, that might not work for everybody, and you want everybody to be able to enjoy your topping. So I found kind of a fun shortcut. You could also, even now that I think about it, you could also just use your favorite yogurt and add a little fresh squeeze of lemon and some lemon zest to it. That would be a really fun creamy topping. And I'm going to do a quick tofu whip that just takes a few seconds. So what I have here is 1 block of tofu, 1 little 12-ounce block of silken tofu. You wouldn't want the regular firm. This is a firm silken, but anything silken is fine. And I'm going to sweeten that with just a little bit of maple syrup. A 1/4 cup here. Now again, this is something you would do to your family to taste, like you would any new recipe. You could start there and see if it doesn't taste sweet enough to you, you could add that. Now, you can also use any kind of sweetener that you want. You can use coconut nectar, you could use coconut sugar, beet sugar, anything like that. I just happen to have the maple handy. So, I mean, if you are a big agave fan, you could do that. And then I'm going to add the juice of half a lemon, which a couple tablespoons maybe is what it'll end up being. Or I'm sorry, teaspoons. Now, to disguise that tofu flavor a little bit, I'm going to go in with some vanilla extract. I'm going to do 1/4 cup vanilla. Let's do my little cup of I'm going to add 1/4 cup vanilla extract to the tofu. And then for interest, and because I'm working with poppy seeds, I'm going to add some almond extract as well. And almond and poppy seed goes beautifully together. So I'm going to add just like an 1/8 teaspoon, just a tiny little touch, just to add an interesting, unexpected little flavor that's going to complement that poppy seed really, really well. And as I was doing that, I was thinking about how fun it would be later in the season when we have peaches and things like that. You could actually do, instead of doing a lemon poppy seed scone, you could do an almond poppy seed shortcake and do like a peach shortcake with this topping. That would be delicious. So I'm going to make just a little bit of noise for just a second or two. I'll try to be brief. Oh. Technical difficulty. You always gotta plug it in. And that's it. It's that fast. And just like the strawberries, this is going to benefit if you can do it a little bit ahead and chill it for a little while. That will help it, the flavors really marry and come together. And you probably won't be able to see it till I dish it out, but it is so thick and creamy. It's almost like a yogurt. It's real sweet and creamy and really thick. I don't know if you can see, it's super, super, super thick. And it gives it just that fun little element of a traditional shortcake with the creamy topping. Now, of course, you can also do your favorite vegan whip topping, Cocoa Whip, or the almond kind at the store. So if you're not about the tofu or the stuffs, I like that it adds the calcium and the protein. I think that's pretty cool. But now we can go ahead and assemble one of these so you can see it. Let me actually get this nice big one. Better for camera. And so we'll just slice our biscuit. You can see the poppy seeds are running all the way through it. Make this up front for you. And then we're going to spoon on our strawberry filling. Now again, remember, you're going to do yours well in advance, so they'll be nice and juicy. But you've got all those pretty strands of lemon zest running through there. It just brightens up the whole plate. And this little pop of the green leaves is just beautiful. And then we're gonna load that right up. And then we're gonna do a little bit of our whip. Oops, nice creamy whip. And then we're gonna place our little top on there. And I like to do just a little bit more whip, because I'm gonna top it with a really pretty strawberry fan. Make it a little bit of a showstopper. So to make a strawberry fan, I'm just gonna take a nice big pretty strawberry with lots of pretty green on it. And I'm just gonna start making nice thin little slices all the way down it. And that will fan out and make a really cute presentation for your guests, for your loved ones. And then of course, more lemon zest, because pretty. And so I'm gonna bring this right around to the camera so you guys can get a nice close up of this. Can everybody see that pretty good? Yeah. That always looks so much easier in person, but yeah. So you got all that pretty green going on. And that's my healthy, refreshing twist on a summer favorite, lemon poppy seed strawberry shortcake. Now Michelle's going to share one of her yummy sweet treats with you next. Back to you, Michele.
Thank you. That looks delicious, and I love you gave a lot of wonderful options. I'm a big fan of lemon and lime zest. I think when I'm grating it and you feel that the essential oils come off and you can smell them, very cheering and brightening. I really like them. So I'm making a watermelon kiwi popsicle, and I want to give you a little help on how to pick out a watermelon. I got a small one for this because you really want one that's dark. You want it to be heavy for its size and a good rounded shape. And then you want this, it's called a field spot, but you want that to be a nice dandelion yellow. That means it's been sitting out in the field long enough to get really ripe. If you don't see that, I mean, sometimes you won't see anything, you'll see sort of a gray or beigey color. It's probably never going to ripen. So what you can do in that case, you might enhance the flavor with a little bit of salt, a little bit of lemon or lime, balsamic vinegar, little sugar. I don't ever put the sugar on, but this works. I actually got that tip at a Trader Joe's, and it's never done me wrong. So first, I'm just going to use a serrated knife. This is going to work right now to give it a steady surface. I should have used a bigger one. This is just a really easy way to cut watermelon. Let me switch gears here. This is a small one, but it's got a thicker rind. So I take the top and the bottom off, so I've got a flat surface, and then I'm just going to go around. Now the watermelon is really rich in the amino acid citrulline, which is really good for your heart. And the white part is good too. We tend to throw out too many parts of our foods. The seeds are actually good for you too. They've got iron and vitamins and minerals. So I don't mind eating the seeds. And I try, when I'm making it for myself, I'll keep some of that white. So, and you just go around. I did this with a bigger watermelon earlier today, and it just cuts up so easily. And then you've got the whole watermelon. As long as you're making a bit of a mess, you might as well get the whole watermelon taken care of. And you just go around. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. But like I said, I don't mind having a little bit of that white part because it's still really good for us. This is a thicker rind on these smaller ones. Okay. Also, watermelons are a really good source of lycopene. We tend to think of that as just like tomatoes, but it's really high in the watermelons too. And with the heat we're having now, the watermelon is it's hydrating. So it's a good thing to have this week. It's heat. It's delicious, and it's got all that water. So I'm not, then I cut it in half. You can really cut more of that if you want, but like I said, it doesn't bother me. And it just makes really quick work of this. And just from there, cut it like that. And then I stack them up and cut them again 2 more ways, if you can see this. Turn them. Just like that, it goes through you go through a whole watermelon very quickly. So what I have for this is 3 cups of watermelon. I need to get up here. So the one I did earlier today, just in less than 5 minutes, I had this whole thing done. So, just 1 second here. Here it is. I already measured it up. So I have just a small, about this big of a watermelon. I got all this, and then what I've already used to make the pops I already did. Okay, so I'm putting that into the Vitamix here. And I'm just going to process it here.
30 years of Everclear. I'll not. We'll be right back.
I don't mind drinking it just like this. It's a nice cooler. I do like it with, you can add all sorts of things to your watermelon, whatever you enjoy. And I took, so this is a 2-part thing, and we're running a little bit late here. So you take your popsicle molds, whatever kind you use, and you're going to fill them just about a little bit from the top, so you have room for the other part of it. And you just let that mix, the pureed watermelon sit for about 2 hours. You want it frozen enough that you can still put the popsicle stick in, but not so frozen that, you want it frozen enough that you don't blend the other colors together, unless you like that. You can do that too, and you can do this with all kinds of fruits, whatever you like. The next thing that's added is, so after I put this in the freezer for 2 hours at least to set, then I cut up some kiwi. I know you can eat the skin on this, but it's not going to lend a real nice green color to it, which is what I want here, because I want this to look like a little piece of watermelon. So I do peel it for this. And because it still doesn't quite come out as green as I like, I put in some spinach, which just gives a little bit more punch too, because the spinach is so good. I use baby spinach. And then I put some lime zest in the juice of half a lime too, just because I love lime and I love the zest like Jodi does. So I put it in, process that. One thing I want to tell you about kiwi, they're very high in vitamin C, they're high in minerals, they're folate and other vitamins, and they have an enzyme in them that makes them tenderize a little bit. So if you've ever looked at a fruit salad that had kiwi in it, it's a little kind of dark green, brown. It's already tenderizing and it can affect the other fruits. So if you're going to put this into a fruit salad, cut it up right before and put it in right before you're going to serve it. So what I did, after this froze, I poured the mixture with the kiwi, spinach, and lime, and then I froze it like that. So you can see it's sort of like a little piece of watermelon, and we'll see if this wants to cooperate with me. Okay, yes it does. It's the first time I've used this set of molds, so thank you for cooperating. I appreciate it. And it's just a really refreshing treat. It's perfect. It's very nutritious, and sneaking that spinach in there adds a little bit more of a punch to it for nutrition. And it's just going to be really good in this weather. It'll be nice. So I hope you enjoy it. Like I said, you could use it with any kinds of fruits that you like. I never add sweetener to, because my taste buds have adjusted. I like the taste of fruit by itself, but if you have people that aren't quite there yet, you could put a little sweetener in. I usually, if I'm going to sweeten, I'm going to use a whole food sweetener, but whatever stage, wherever you are on this journey, use whatever you prefer. So that's all I have. Hope you enjoy it.